Ah!
Oh shit. There's something big. There's something big. There's something big running in the woods.
Does he think you cut him off or something?
Oye, miren, ahí está.
Remote forests can hide disturbing secrets. A camper saw glowing eyes near an abandoned house, while another heard footsteps circling his tent at a haunted ruin. What was really moving in the darkness? Unlike crowded public campgrounds, the Japanese camping channel CamPrime focuses on locations where few people would ever consider staying overnight. Using satellite maps, the creator searches for remote clearings hidden deep within forests and documents quiet camping trips far from civilization. On March 7, 2026, one of those isolated locations brought an unexpected discovery. After driving into a secluded forest, he found a small clearing surrounded by trees. It looked like a peaceful place to park his vehicle and camp alone. However, an abandoned house stood directly beside the clearing. The deserted building had been left behind deep inside the forest. That evening, he set up camp beside his vehicle, prepared dinner, built a small fire, and roasted sweet potatoes. Everything seemed normal. There were no lights inside the house, no visible movement, and no obvious signs that anyone had been there for years. Still, the building remained visible throughout the evening. Later, while sitting inside his vehicle, he heard movement outside. Looking through the window, he noticed two glowing eyes moving through the darkness toward his campsite. At first, he could not tell what was approaching or whether it was connected to the uneasy feeling he had experienced earlier. He stayed inside and watched as the figure slowly came closer. When it finally came into view, the explanation was much less frightening. It was simply a raccoon wandering through the forest. After the animal disappeared, he continued spending the night inside his vehicle. While relaxing, he watched the horror film Wrong Turn about people trapped in a remote forest while being hunted by cannibals. Outside his vehicle was an oddly similar scene. A dark forest surrounded him, and an abandoned house stood alone beside his campsite. It was probably the worst movie to watch in that setting. Eventually, he needed to use the restroom and stepped outside again. As he walked through the forest, his eyes drifted toward the abandoned house. He decided to approach the building and see whether he could use it. When he reached the house, he noticed signs that people had once lived there. However, every entrance he checked was locked. As he walked around the back of the building, he thought he saw something move nearby. He immediately stopped and looked toward the area, but he could not tell what had moved. Since he could not enter the house, he left and returned to his vehicle. The next morning revealed nothing different. The abandoned house looked exactly as it had the night before. Its doors remained locked, the windows looked empty, and the building continued standing silently beside the clearing. After spending the entire night parked next to it, the creator packed his gear and drove away from the forest. Animal eyes often reflect light and appear much brighter at night, explaining the two glowing eyes near the campsite. However, the movement behind the abandoned house was never identified. Was it another animal hiding nearby, or was something quietly watching him from around the building? On August 12, 2024, the Haggard Project ventured into the mountains of Washington state, searching for a quiet campsite far from crowded trails and surrounded by dense forest. After exploring the area, he located a remote clearing beside a creek. He pitched his tarp shelter, gathered firewood, and got everything ready before nightfall.
Lets a little bit of light into these woods. That way, cannot see a thing. And I don't think I was recording earlier, but something made a heavy sound over there. But up that way, a couple miles, there is a camp, but I don't think anybody's hiking this way back down. Anywho.
At first, the campsite felt peaceful. The sound of the flowing creek and the quiet wilderness created the kind of setting many campers look for. However, that feeling gradually disappeared as darkness settled over the forest. While sitting near his shelter, he started hearing unusual noises coming from the surrounding woods. The first sounds resembled heavy footsteps or something large moving across the forest floor. Several loud crunches echoed from uphill. Each one sounded separate, almost as if something was walking between the trees. He stayed still and listened, trying to figure out what caused the noise, but nothing appeared.
I don't know if that was me or something over there. Definitely something over there.
About 30 minutes later, another series of heavy crunching sounds came from a different direction. This time they seemed to come from near the creek, roughly 50 feet from his campsite. Because the noises were coming from multiple locations, he could not tell whether they were caused by an animal, another camper, or something else. He grabbed his flashlight and carefully searched the nearby trees for several minutes. Even after checking the area, he found nothing that explained the sounds.
Once I get out to the road, I just take a quick look up towards where the creek is, and this is where it gets terrifying. But anywho, I've got my low beam on at this point. I think I see something small. Maybe it's like a raccoon or something right there by the water.
The strange noises continued, and he still had no clear explanation. Deciding it was no longer safe to remain there, he packed his belongings before lighting a fire.
See something standing there on the side of the road, pretending to be a statue. Whatever this was decided it was just gonna freeze. As I'm looking in that direction, I'm not even kidding, it looks like somebody dressed up in camo, and they've got their back slightly angled away. I'd say like at a 45 degree. They're standing there about 6 feet tall. That was probably sneaking up on me. That's all I can think. When I saw what it was, a human, and I kept the light on him for a good 20 solid seconds. The fear just kind of washed over me because I'm thinking, what's gonna happen?
After reaching the road, he pointed his flashlight back toward the creek. He expected the beam to reveal only the trees and the campsite he had just left. Instead, the light revealed a person standing silently in the darkness. The figure appeared to be dressed entirely in camouflage. They remained perfectly still with their body turned slightly away from him.
That is what happened, and eventually after the 20 seconds, he didn't move, he just kept standing there. So I just pretended like, oh, maybe I didn't see it. Then on my way out, periodically, I turned back, checked, nope, didn't see him, he's gone. And that's that.
For about 20 seconds, he kept the flashlight aimed directly at the figure and waited for any reaction. The person never turned, moved, responded to the light, or showed any sign that they realized someone was watching. Sound can echo through forests, making movement seem closer or come from different directions. Even so, that does not explain why a silent person wearing camouflage was standing near the road. Was the stranger simply passing through the woods, or had they been watching the campsite the entire time? On November 1st, 2025, Vanessa Blank from the channel Lost in Wonder traveled to the Hermitage ruins in Ancaster, Ontario, Canada. Her plan was to camp alone beside one of the province's most well-known haunted sites.
Some say his spirits never left, that he walks these woods at night, watching, waiting. Grief etched into stone, a heartbreak that never found its ending.
The stone ruins are all that remain of the former Hermitage estate, a place long connected to the legend of William Black. Local folklore says Black was a coachman who ended his own life after a forbidden relationship. Over the years, visitors have claimed to hear unexplained footsteps, witness strange lights, and experience unusual activity around the abandoned ruins. Those reports helped establish the site as one of Ontario's most enduring ghost legends. For decades, paranormal investigators, urban explorers, and curious visitors have come there hoping to experience something unexplained for themselves.
I have decided that this is going to be the spot. This is where I'm going to be setting up the tent. I want to use this structure here as a little bit of a wind barrier. I don't know if I should stay away from any structure. Okay, I'm just in my tent now. When I was setting up, a couple of times I saw lights in the woods, and one time it looked like it was coming right at me. And I'm like, I don't know if it's hikers or if it is the park authorities doing rounds. Either way, they didn't come here to the ruins. They just walked through the path. The light just really goes far.
As daylight faded, Vanessa pitched her tent beside the ruins. She placed it close to one of the old stone walls for extra shelter from the wind. With broken stone structures and trees surrounding the area, the campsite became much darker as the last daylight disappeared. While setting up camp, Vanessa repeatedly noticed lights moving through the nearby forest. They appeared briefly between the trees, disappeared, then showed up again moments later from another direction. She could not determine whether the lights belonged to hikers or park staff. Vanessa stayed near her campsite and kept watching until they eventually vanished into the darkness.
10 p.m. I think it's about time I try to get some sleep. Keep hearing noises outside of the tent, and it's probably just the rustling of the leaves or a raccoon, but I can't stop thinking about the story of William Black and getting his heart broken and taking his own life.
The wind continued throughout the evening, making every movement among the trees more noticeable. Around 10 p.m., Vanessa settled inside her tent. When she heard what sounded like footsteps, she immediately stopped talking and stayed completely still, waiting to see if they would continue past her. Instead, the sound seemed much closer than the nearby trail. The footsteps appeared to linger outside her tent for several moments before gradually fading away. The campsite fell silent once again, leaving Vanessa with no clear explanation for what she had heard. She remained there through the night, carefully listening to every sound around the ruins.
She is ready. Leave no trace. Yeah, the ruins don't look as scary during the day, for sure. It was beautiful though last night, with the moon rising right there in between the windows. And it is a beautiful sight.
By sunrise, the location looked exactly as it had the evening before. No lights moved through the trees, and no one was anywhere near the campsite. The one thing Vanessa could not stop thinking about was the sound of footsteps outside her tent after everything else had gone quiet. Wind and stone walls can reflect and carry sound, making distant footsteps seem much closer than they actually are. But with no one visible around the campsite, what do you think Vanessa heard outside her tent that night? A routine fishing trip can turn dangerous in an instant. One strong pull sent a lure flying straight toward a fisherman's face. What he did afterward is hard to watch. On September 12, 2020, the YouTube channel Ace Trail Cams uploaded a disturbing fishing video. The footage shows a fisherman alone after his crankbait gets stuck in a tree. He pulls forcefully to free the lure, but it suddenly snaps back toward him.
Oh, great. Lucky craft crankbait snagged in a tree. I was about to announce Ouch. Ouch, ouch. Okay, okay. Well, don't know what's going on here, folks. I gotta see myself. That's sad. Well, there you go. Hold on. First thing I need to do is clip the line. Okay. Can't tell. It's too darn bright out here to see what's going on. Yeah, that's past the barb for sure.
The treble hook hits his face and becomes embedded beyond the barb. With no one nearby to assist him and no hospital close to his location, he has only a mirror and a pair of pliers to rely on. Despite the painful situation, he remains surprisingly calm. With the fishing lure still attached to his lip, he begins explaining what happened to the camera, almost as if he were showing a fishing technique.
I think the first step is to clip the hook where I can remove the crankbait from my mouth. Okay, so the crankbait is hanging freely. Ouch. Now it actually hurts more. This is hard in a mirror. Now I'm starting to shake. Yeah, that's not gonna work. This is a predicament here, folks. If you think about a hook being in your skin past the barb, you can like poke it through your skin. The problem is this hook is so small, this treble hook. I'm not sure if I have the room to poke it through. That's hurting. I just tried to pull it out. Just straight up. Man it up. One more time. Oh my goodness. I'm a man. Alright, you know what we're gonna do, folks? I don't know why I'm rinsing the crankbait off. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna use this crankbait now and catch a fish.
What follows is slow, careful, and difficult to watch. He first tries pushing the hook through, but it appears to be stuck too deeply. He then attempts to pull it straight out. His hand starts shaking as the pain and difficulty increase. Eventually, he uses force to rip the hook free from his face. After removing it, he washes the crankbait and continues fishing with the same lure. A barbed hook can be extremely challenging to remove once it becomes deeply embedded in skin. Having to deal with that pain alone must have been terrifying. Yet, he managed to stay focused and handle the situation. The hook came dangerously close to his eyes, so was continuing to fish an act of bravery? Or was it a risk he should never have taken? John runs a channel called Exploration Unknown, where he explores abandoned buildings, forgotten places, and remote locations connected to local legends, including stories about feral people believed to live deep within the Appalachian wilderness. He usually investigates these locations alone, without a crew, a weapon, or anyone nearby to assist him. He carries only his camera and follows the path wherever it takes him. His videos often create suspense gradually. For long periods, nothing unusual occurs. Then, one moment suddenly changes the entire situation. On June 22nd, 2026, somewhere in Appalachia, that moment happened unexpectedly.
So we're going to roam around here, where I'm at now. Anything different? I think I'm going to start with this little road here. I think I'm going to start walking back a piece here. See if we hear anything. Yeah, I've been listening for ATVs. I've stopped a time or two and just listened. All we have here is whatever wildlife or feral people exist here. Now I want to look for signs. I don't really know what this place is. It kind of feels like a wildlife area.
John was walking along an overgrown dirt trail in a remote area with no phone service or reliable GPS. It was the type of location where emergency help would not arrive quickly. His only realistic option was to make his way back to his vehicle alone. He moved cautiously while looking for signs of recent activity. During the walk, he noticed fresh tire marks that appeared to have been created by heavy machinery. The tracks seemed strange for such an isolated area, far from places where large equipment would normally be used. Whatever had passed through the area was not a person on foot, and the marks did not appear to be old.
I'm gonna make my way back to the car. Oh shit, there's something big. There's something big. There's something big running in the woods. I don't know where it went. It's up there. It sounds like it's beelining right towards me. I don't know what that was. I don't hear it now.
When John was around a quarter mile from his car, the silence suddenly broke. Heavy footsteps erupted from the brush and began moving quickly through the forest. The sound became louder as it came closer. It did not appear to be moving around him or stopping to observe him. Whatever was approaching seemed to be heading directly toward his location. John stayed still for only a moment. Then instinct took control before he could fully process what was happening. The sound did not feel like something quietly tracking him. It sounded like something rushing toward him.
Okay. Let's get back to the car. I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm getting inside the car. Okay, let's get back in the car and regroup. I'm looking in my mirrors, I'm looking around. I haven't moved yet. I don't know, man. That was a weird sound. That last sound, that scream, whatever that was.
He ran toward his vehicle. The car appeared through the trees as he covered the final distance. John reached the vehicle, opened the door, climbed inside, and locked it in one motion. Just as the lock closed, a high-pitched scream came from the woods behind him. The sound did not seem like an animal escaping after being startled. It had a more aggressive tone. Although John was now inside the car, whatever had approached him seemed to still be somewhere among the trees. The trip had started as an exploration of Appalachian folklore and old stories about people who vanished from society. Instead, John ended up trapped inside his vehicle, replaying the sound of something large moving toward him with obvious intent. He had no signal, no weapon, and no one nearby who knew his exact location. In those moments, the locked car door was the only thing separating him from whatever remained in the forest. When people detect immediate danger, the body can react before the mind fully understands the situation. John may never discover what moved through those woods, but leaving quickly may have kept him safe. Do you think it was a large animal, or was something intentionally trying to reach him? This encounter shows how a routine drive toward a campsite can suddenly become a dangerous roadside confrontation. In the footage, the creator and a friend are traveling toward a campsite somewhere in North America. They have taken this route many times before and expect another peaceful trip surrounded by nature. Both appear relaxed as they continue toward the campground. However, before they reach their destination, an unexpected encounter completely changes the atmosphere. Without warning,
Oh, just go. He's just sitting there. Does he think you cut him off or something?
I don't know. I think it's fucked up.
What's his tag? I can't see his tag. Call 911.
Another driver begins aggressively confronting them on the road. The motorist repeatedly swerves in front of their vehicle, blocks their path, and prevents them from passing. Within moments, the situation turns into a frightening roadside standoff. Worried that the man may have a weapon, the creator immediately calls 911. The aggressive driver stays nearby until he realizes that police are on the way. Only then does he finally leave the area. The man was later arrested after allegedly driving someone else's truck while intoxicated. He also reportedly faced multiple charges related to the incident. After watching the footage, it is difficult not to think about how much worse the situation could have become. If the driver had truly intended to hurt them, they might not have had enough time to contact emergency services. Aggressive drivers can become even more unpredictable when confronted or when someone leaves their vehicle. Calling 911 early may have stopped the situation from escalating further. But what do you think the driver intended to do? Check out the next video on screen right now. On April 26, 2023, the YouTube channel Terror AI Extremo uploaded a deeply unsettling video. In the footage, the creator drives alone into a remote mountain region at night. The isolated wilderness is surrounded by local legends, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly uncomfortable as he travels farther into the area. Even so, nothing prepares him for what suddenly appears ahead. Watch what happens next.
Ay, miren. Ahí está. ¿De dónde es usted, señor?
No fue malito, es un perdido. ¿Sí?
Dense vuelta de aquel lado. Ábrale.
No sé cómo se va a ver esto.
Me pegó un susto de aquellos, jefe.
Without warning, the creator notices a dark figure standing in the distance. He immediately stops, shocked by what he is seeing. After looking closer, however, he realizes the figure is actually an elderly man. The man is lost, exhausted, and walking alone through the mountains in the middle of the night. The creator offers him water and begins helping him find his way back through the difficult terrain. The unsettling feeling does not completely disappear. During their journey, the elderly man leads the creator directly through a cemetery, making the situation feel even more disturbing. Fortunately, both men eventually make it back safely. Darkness can make ordinary shapes appear frightening, because the eyes struggle to judge distance and details clearly. Still, how did this elderly man end up lost so deep in the mountains? And what could have happened if no one had discovered him? Late one night, Carolina was heading home after spending time with her boyfriend. It was already dark, and she took one of the last buses running that evening. After getting off the bus, she noticed a man standing near the stop. His appearance made her feel uneasy, so she avoided looking at him and continued walking. A few moments later, she realized the man was following her. At first, Carolina tried to convince herself that they were simply going the same way. However, the man slowly got closer and began yelling random things behind her. She wanted to run, but she was afraid he might chase after her. When she reached a corner where he could no longer see her clearly, she finally ran home. Carolina locked the doors and thought she had gotten away, but about 20 minutes later, the gate doorbell rang. Her parents were not home, so she refused to answer. When she looked through a window, she saw the same man standing outside staring toward the house. He stayed there for a while before somehow entering the garden and pulling on the door handle. Carolina immediately locked herself in the bathroom. She called her parents, explained what was happening, and stayed hidden while they rushed back home. Eventually, the sound stopped, and the man disappeared. Carolina only felt safe again when her parents arrived about an hour later. She had avoided eye contact, waited for the right moment to escape, locked the house, and refused to open the door. Even so, the stranger still managed to find where she lived. Someone following another person can discover their address simply by watching where they go. Do you think the man intended to get inside the house, or was he only trying to scare her? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story, share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.